Hello. Welcome to the show, Mom! Welcome to the show! Hello, my homos! Hello, how are you doing, my homos, my homosexuals? Anyway, how's it going? What's everyone up to? What's everyone doing? You know, everyone whacking their peepees, everyone extremely bricked up because it's Pride Month, the month of the gays. This is the only month where we can be gay. All the other months, done, canceled, hate crimes skyrocketed through the fucking roof, okay? We are very gay tonight. I'm feeling gay in the Chili's tonight. How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? I have my Red Bull, you know. Oh, still that guy Jake. Thank you for the one community subby. We're subbing in chat, subs and gays in chat. Where are my gays at? Where are my lesbians at? Where are my they thems? I need to know. Oh yes, I didn't know we had a thank you command. Thank you very much. Okay, what's happening? I gotta see what's happening. First of all, what the fuck is Kev KBD's name? Why is he called Kev Kobo now? I didn't allow you to do this. You should not be doing such a thing on Pride Month, frankly, my dear. Asshole, congratulate. Okay, wait. Still that guy Jake. We have a subby. We're subs in chat. We're throwing out subs in the bed. Hello, thank you very much. Still that guy Jake. Welcome in. The superior Jake, actually. Okay, let's see what's happening. Hydrate and stretch from asshole. You didn't tell me what to stretch, though. You told me to get wet and stretch, basically. Hydrate and stretch, that could mean very different things, you know? I don't get pregnant today. Okay, I will not get pregnant today. Thank you very much, asshole. Shoney's, congratulations on the first. Welcome in, Shoney's, my Korean king, my opar. My opar? Mokuba with the 10 push-ups. Okay. Oh, fuck. That was like seafood. I had some paella for dinner and like there was something that was shrimpy. That was like a kind of a shrimpy burp. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, we'll do 10 push-ups. Every day I suffer, okay? Let's see. Emmy Phobia, congratulations on the 55 stream streak. Congratulations. Today is your month, okay? Today is your month. Okay, let me go through chat. Let's see what's happening. The Key Circle 3 stream streak, he's done. He's canceled. KNC Keys is canceled. Please do not buy from KNC Keys from here on out. Manic also 3 stream streak. Rue gay. We are indeed very gay. Okay, thank you. Can we get a shout out to Manic? Please do not. Can we please not shout out KMS Keys because it's frankly like insulting. They are also moving out of Texas. The great state of Texas, God bless Texas. They're moving out of the Alamo. They don't remember the Alamo, okay? They're moving out of Texas. If y'all didn't know, they're moving to Oregon. And the Key Circle is actually going to move to Oregon too to pursue his dreams of becoming a social media manager, full-time, committed, balls to the walls for KMS Keys. I'm so proud of him for achieving all of your dreams. Thank you so much. Starsky with the 5 stream streak and Nuckin Futz, my dyke mommy. Gays in chat, gays in my hobby, Leslie's in my keyboard hobby. Hold up, wait. Is my mic like... Hold up a second. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Sorry, I turned it down. I'm sorry. I turned it up for Discord because my Discord is fucked. Very homophobic, frankly. We're being gay in the stream today, okay? If y'all didn't know, I have not even started reading chat yet, okay? But if y'all didn't know, we are building the Satisfaction 75 XXX Girls Gone Wild and Wet, okay? That's the full name. They said Sat 75X, but in their briefing for me, they said that's the actual name of this keyboard. And I received a letter. Handcrafted. Basically detailing their trade secrets in here. Very important trade secrets, okay? Okay? That's what's happening. By the way, if y'all didn't know, there was some homophobia happening under my watch, my eyes. If y'all didn't know, Canon Keys is gay, okay? And they released a very gay microfiber cloth for the gays. And, you know, in the Instagram comments, there was some homophobia happening. So, to combat it, to resolve the crisis of homophobia and hatred in the world, obtain world peace, I am giving away 2 of these cloths until I run out. I think I have 20. They're on their way to me. I will be giving away 2 at the end of the stream. Gay cloths. They will make you gay. They will make your mom gay. If she's not already gay, she's probably already gay. She told me last night. By the way, and then we are building this thing. Okay, do you see this thing? Look at this. A keyboard. Magnificent. Never ever seen one before. Crazy, crazy shit. Truly revolutionary shit going on here. Look at this. We're building the purple one. This one's for the gays, okay? Lavender is a very gay color, okay? Anyway, let me catch up on chat. I don't know what's happening, okay? I'm floppe. By the way, if y'all did not know, I am not streaming on Monday. I will be whacking peepees in court. I will be in trial, whacking tons of peepees, seducing the judge. No, I will not be. But yes, I will be doing that. I might not be streaming on Thursday either, because I will also be preparing for trial. Okay, we're whacking lots of peepees. We're taking this to court, honey. We're taking it to court. You're going to cunt jail. You're going to cunt jail, and because you slayed your mother. Okay, anyway. I need to reach out. I don't know what the fuck is happening. Should I show y'all? Wait, I don't even know what switches we're using today. Okay, so here's the package that we received. It will come with a carrying case as per my briefing material, but it will have a carrying case. Do not worry, fear not, my homos. Okay, this one's for the homos, okay? You're not excused until you start stream right now. We're gay homos. Who's this imposter? Hello, Kev Kobo. I don't know who the fuck Kev Kobo is, but he needs to get the fuck out of my chat because he's a fucking imposter. There's actually 3 Kevs now. There's superior Kev, inferior Kev, and there is mid Kev, okay? Kev Kobo is mid Kev. Shonies is here. Okay, we're bricked up. Hello, asshole is over here wanting me to stretch. I didn't even stretch. Okay, let me rechat. There's a lot going on here, okay? Lots of stuff happening. How do you go from 16 to 92? And that's some skills and being bricked up. Fast erection switch. I have a switch right here that I press and everyone becomes bricked up immediately. Do you see this? It's a cute little, baby bottle. You know, baby bottles, nipples, you know what I mean? No Nums bricked up 14 months. Zaddy on Pride Month, resubbing on Pride Month, submissive. My submissive breedable no Nums. Hello. You're very submissive and breedable tonight. Welcome in. Welcome in. I cannot wait to see the keyboard that you dedicated to my life and my work. Thank you very much. I hope Olivia streams a trial. Listen, I wish I could too. I wish you guys could watch me whack some peepees, okay? Mohuba, hello. Saraji man, my sugar daddy is also here. Welcome to somebody sugar daddy. Shiloh Tussers. Hello, Shiloh Tussers. Can we get a shout out to Shiloh Tussie, my Taiwanese father, who birthed me in Spaceballs, my Taiwanese cousin, my incest cousin. Let's see, Plastic Bits, welcome in. Can we get a shout out to my child, Plastic Bits? He is a child, okay? What's happening? Bread Roll is here. Welcome in. Hello. Shout out to Bread Roll. Hove Keyboard is also here. Welcome in, Hove. How are you? Can we get a shout out to the sexiest bearded man in the hobby? Hello, Satisfy Me. Liam is also here. Hello, Liam. Very excited to see y'all at the Mode meetup. So excited. Almost forgot that Keep Life was happening, but Keep Life is happening, y'all. It is happening. Satisfy Me. Yes, hello, Liam. Shout out to Liam. Etchy is also here. Hello. Welcome. Spaceballs, my Taiwanese cousin, is also here. Hello. Do y'all want to look at the keyboard? Spaceballs, welcome, and shout out to my Taiwanese cousin, Manic Geek. Shout out to my manic gay, basically Asian, basically honorary Asian here. Starsky as well. Shout out to Starsky. He made nipples for me. He made boobas for me. It's 99 month. Yes, this is the month dedicated to me and my work and everything I've done for the homosexuals, okay? Want to see my erectile dysfunction? What the fuck is that? Arigato, welcome in. Hello, Arigato. Welcome at Word Miss Holty. You better be I will be very satisfied. XXX. Girls left satisfied, okay? Do y'all want to look at the keyboard? Let's look at it. Look at this, unsheathed, fully raw. Look at it. This is very light. This is very light. I can throw this around. I can just toss it around, throw it against the wall. You know what I mean? It is very light. I saw this actually at Keep Live. Fuck. My apologies. They had this at Keep Live, actually, and I was like, let me holler at you. Let me holler at you, Upas. Okay? Don't tell your wife. I'm just kidding. No, but it's all injected PC, we love materials, the play on materials. The juxtaposition of materials is truly like one of the craziest things I've ever seen in this hobby. Like, it's truly like, I feel it juxtaposed so much. Like, call me an author because I am juxtaposing. I'm being juxtaposed, okay? Let's see. Hail Satan, Banditry is here. Hello, Bandit. Bind me to the tree. Hello. Shout out to Banditry, the sexiest, tall, queer, bearded, ginger male on this planet. Hello, Bandit. Hey, hun, the key circle, don't even talk to me. Manic out here casting shadows. My head, this mod. What is going on? Do we mod shonies is the question. We need to renew this conversation. Because we need to renew this conversation every other week, basically, okay? Looks like Nana, go look what the Scuff mod said now. I don't work around here. Some of us do real work around here, please, okay? Nuck and Futz, let's go. Mommies in chat, Kev Kobo. Chichi from GMK to Kev Kobo. Yes, this is the keyboard. I have some very, very important debriefing, okay? Let me unpack this. Okay, this will come in a carrying case. Fear not. Your plastic keyboard will be okay. It will be okay. Okay, I promise. Everything will be all right, yeah. And we all just stand up. Anyway, okay, what's happening? All right, this is some of the foam and the plate. We love to see it. Never seen foam, never seen a plate before. Truly revolutionary, okay? And then here we have the actual PCB here. PCB, okay, PC bussers. P-cum and boobas, if y'all didn't know, that's what PCB stands for, actually. That's the legal term. Why you gotta jump scare me like that? Jump scare ass? It's not a jump scare. Why is it a jump scare that I scream gay? Are you guys, like, homophobic or something? Are you guys using the gay panic defense? Is that what it is? You guys think you can legally shoot me in the head for being gay? I can't believe it. Gay panic defense is a thing. I don't think it's been outlawed in all the states. It's like, oh my god, there's a gay person in front of me. I can shoot you. Anyway, this is the PCB. There is a split backspace on here. So this is reverse compatible. Let me check my notes real quick. Okay, let me check my notes real quick. Let me just bold of them to assume I can read because I can't. Okay, I know some of these words. Okay, it'll come with a hot top PCB. It will come with the default 6.25U fixed PC plate. So mauled, if you like 7U, you can go fuck yourself, okay? Okay, so let's see. Encoder is pre-soldered, unlike the SAT75, the normal one, okay? SAT75 Senior, this is SAT75 Junior, okay? So this encoder will come pre-soldered. The OLED is hot swappable in case you fuck it up, okay? You whack it too hard with your PP, okay? Mounting style has been changed to a gasket style, with both silicone and porn gaskets being available, okay? Hot swap PCBs are available, and the PCBs are backwards compatible. So if you have a Satisfaction 75 Senior, you can use that PCB on the Satisfaction 75 Junior. The plates are not, I emphasize this, they are not backwards compatible, you see? Bolded, they are not backwards compatible, you hear that? The mounting style has changed, by the way. The knobs are cross-compatible. If you want to rub your old knobs, the knobs are compatible, okay? There's some other build notes, but we're not gonna read that, okay? We're not gonna read it because my brain is hurting. That was too much reading for me, honestly. It's just too much. I don't get paid enough for this. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, okay? Okay, let's see. Olive, oh my gosh. Canon Keys, Anna Olive, my volume was all the way up. I apologize for assaulting you with my homosexuality, okay? I apologize, okay? You turn my volume so far down, my heart legit jump scared in my chest. You should always keep my volume at 1% at all times, okay? At all times. Okay, what are we doing? Here's the plate. Okay, lovely, lovely. Ancilla, it's going on 60. You're good night. You're leaving already. I bet it's late. I bet it's late for you. I'm gonna tuck you into bed, Ancilla. I'm gonna 69 you and tuck you into bed. Is that okay? Hello, Ancilla, my zaddy. I hope you enjoy your keycaps. Banditry, Blue Eyes White Dragon shirt. Yes, Blue Eyes White Dragon. I'm basically like a fucking imposter because I don't remember anything about Yu-Gi-Oh. I just know they're like, I summon Pot of Greed! That's all I know. And there's some guys with like crazy hair. Like they kind of slayed though. They kind of slayed. They slay and drag, honestly. Let's see, Kev, baby, hello, hey honey, Bandussers. Yes, can we please get a shout out to Bandussers? Okay, so the plate goes on like that, like so, okay? Do y'all want to know any other information about this board? Should I read this? Thanks for building the SAT-75X. We've been working on this for a long time and are really excited to see that it's releasing soon. Very nice. Starts at 111. If y'all didn't know, 111. We will go through the website later, okay? We will go through our website. Let's see. Okay, 75. Okay, Poron foam case will be available as add-ons. Okay, they'll have a silicone weight and silicone plate foam available as add-ons. My personal preference is either no foam at all or Poron plate foam. Good to know Canon Keys is foamophobic. Okay. Okay, there you go. There it is. Here's the knob. I want to rub it all over. I want to rub all over a whale. Sub Doms, we have them. Mr. Mike peaked or something. Hello. So gay, I had to pay. Thank you, still that gay, Jake. Are you gay as well? The two Jakes that have been in my chat are both gay. Are you gay? Please, everyone, out yourselves right now so I can make a list of people. Let's see. Hello, I'm new here. Whale Kwan, welcome in. Hello, hello, welcome in, Whale Kwan. Shout out to Whale Kwan. Okay, listen, I'm not like nearly caught up on chat, but I cannot believe today's a Monday. I thought today was a Thursday. How was everyone's weekend? I'm thinking about what I did this weekend. I saw Cox Cumbra. He did a 30-hour Destiny raid. What a fucking nerd. I got some lovely raw fish sushi with him. Absolutely raw, bricked up, okay? But how was everyone's weekend? Everyone lovely? Did everyone fight for gay rights this weekend? What did you do for the gays? What did you do for the LGBTQIA two-spirit community this weekend? If you are not actively supporting and unlearning the colonization, frankly, of the LGBTQIA plus two-spirit community, then frankly, you're just being homophobic, okay? Let's be real. Let's be real. You're all canceled, okay? What did you do for the gays this weekend? How did you advance gay rights? That's what I want to know, okay? Platigami, welcome in. Hello, Platigami, aka Akigami's brother. Welcome in. 55. Okay, where the fuck am I? I don't even know where the fuck am I. 5-stream streak. Oh shit, I'm in Oregon. Wait, Manic is in Oregon? I don't know where I thought you were. I forgot you were in Oregon. Oh fuck, this invite is invalid? Oh fuck. Oh fuck. How many fucking upvotes does that thing have? When I touch ya, kiss ya, you're right. We have 83 upvotes. Hold up. I gotta upload this. Oh shit! Apiary! Marcia, is that the apiary? One of the leading pioneering women in the keyboard hobby. Okay, is that she? Thank you very much for the raid. How was your Switch organizing apiary? Oh, she went to get food property. Okay, that's okay. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Nene Gogo. We are building the Satisfaction 75X. Okay. I want to die. Oh no, what happened? Did the straights get you? Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month to all the apiary followers. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Checkmate Panda. Hello. Mirror Mask Arts. Thank you very much for the follow. The straights got her. You want to die. Yes, we are building this. Twinkie of Doom. Twinks in chat. We got twinks in chat. The twink. I just got a follow from the twink. I haven't done this much math in years. Oh God, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay. Listen, we are building this. We are building this. It's extremely lightweight, truly revolutionary, okay? I'm very behind on chat, so please bear with me, everyone. Did I introduce myself? Yes, I'm Nana Go-Go. We are gay, and we are celebrating Pride Month by being gay. We're being very subversive, honestly. There's a lot of subversive energy going on, subversive, lots of subs in chat, okay? I forgot what I was doing. Okay, let me read chat. I gotta catch up on chat. I don't even know what switches I'm using. Oh God, my dyke mommy. Yes, for real. Hello. I'm glad you got through the switches, okay? Time for some tops and bottoms. Enough of the switches, okay? Let's see. You're moving to Boston. Yeah, Boston? Wait, Oregon? Gonna yell at us for not telling her? Wait, what did I say? No more peak mic. Daddy Nanini? The Key Circle, thank you for gifting a sub to the mother of all female keyboard streamers. Apiary Keyboards, thank you so much, the Key Circle. I wish you and KMS Keys the most success that you've ever had, ever, okay? I'm gonna do a poll. I need to fucking build this keyboard. What switches are we fucking using? I don't even know. What are we doing? Okay, runners they're tactiles. We're doing runners, some BCPs. I don't know if they're Kale or B-Sun. I don't know. I don't want to read that. Jammies. These are HMX, and then we're using KMS Keys green jackets, and there's also Silly Works Hyacinth. I still don't know how the fuck. Silly Works Hyacinth. This song is very distracting. Okay, start pole. We're pole dancing. We could be pole dancing until the morning. Okay, let's see what's happening. Ariella, hello, welcome in, Ariella. How are you doing? We're very excited, drinking Red Bull. Yes, runners are Punkashu. Yes, shout out to Ariella. Tattoo Goddess, Tattoo Mommy, welcome in. MD, PhD, if y'all didn't know. Double D's, okay? MD and PhD, okay? Double D's, okay? She's got some double D's. Very highly educated woman. We stan. Woman in STEM. She is actually a woman in STEM, okay? I'm not a woman in STEM, okay? Listen, like a wet shirt, do you need to douse the letter in water to see the truth? Hello, open up the letter, sexy letter. Gay cloth, yes. Is that a Catholic thing? Gay cloth is a Catholic thing, is that what that means? I'm not Catholic, by the way. I'm not Catholic. Why would you ruin a microfiber cloth? Rainbow offends me. Yes, we're gonna be giving away, for every single stream, we're going to be giving away 2 Canon Keys microfiber pride cloths. All of the proceeds go to the Trevor Project, which specifically supports gay people named Trevor. If you're not named Trevor, you are fucked. You are a victim of a hate crime, and we will not help you, okay? You're making me confused. He is not moving to... I lied. Okay, well, I didn't lie. It was a partial lie. You can figure out what's the lie. Listen to Nine Nine. Who's Nine Nine? The one that screams about balls. The one that screams about balls. Yes, I do be screaming about assholes, okay? Mostly because asshole is here. But yes, Lydia, your mom is gay. She told me in bed. I knew it. I knew it. Okay, we're not going to be using any foam. We're going to be doing 2 builds tonight, okay? Is that okay? Is that okay with y'all that we do 2 builds tonight? Is it okay that I make content? Y'all mind if I make content sometimes? Turing Moon Yacht. Hello, welcome in. Does that stand for Alan Turing? One of the most famous gays in STEM, Alan Turing. Truly iconic. Oh my god, Imitation Game was so sad. I fucking cried. Anyway. Yes! Love it! The gays are alive and thriving. Justice for Alan. Justice for Alan, okay? They just pardoned him for his crimes, even though they, like, chemically castrated him. A crime. I personally think we should chemically castrate the leader of the British people. Who is that? Actually, I take that back. Am I gonna get in trouble for saying that? I don't think so. I'm being very vague, so they can't get me on anything. Now, how the fuck is Automat catching literally anything in a chat like yours anymore? I don't know. Automat should not be catching anything in my chat at this point. I am KMS Keys, homophobia in her month. I bought 2, one for me, one to wipe the tears of homophobes. I love that, Jake. I love it. Oh, we're doing jammies. Okay, jammies. You guys didn't vote for KMS Keys green jacket. He is on his 9th reason at this point, okay? He's on his 9th reason. That just gave him his 10th reason. McPen RX, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome in. Thank you all so much. Apiaries community, thank you. Emphasis on come. I'm just kidding, that's inappropriate. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes. It's still that guy, Jake. I love that for you, okay? I don't know if you're gay or an ally, but I love that for you, okay? Exclamation PP, yes, I will whack PPs. Let's see. Can you give us all the tea of the court case? Don't tell anyone to say here. It's some tea. Honestly, this case is some tea. I'll be very vague. Someone has filed a lawsuit, and someone is defending the lawsuit, and basically they're like, you did something wrong, sis. Like, I want money. And then the other side is like, I'm not giving you any money because I didn't do anything wrong. You can go fuck yourselves. That's the tea. That's the tea, okay? Clownfish is here. Welcome in. Okay, what the fuck are we doing? How long? We're 29 minutes in. Okay, what are we doing? We're using jammies. Okay, I need to screw my head on. Right, okay? That's the Lord. Nemo, welcome in. How's your little fin? How's your little fin doing? Are you afraid that your fin is too tiny? Okay. The gaskets are I think pre-installed already because they had to test it. So these are pre-installed. The gaskets will not be pre-installed when you order this, okay? Pre-orders start late July, starting at $111, okay? Lovely, lovely, very light. We can weigh this later. It's very light. Honestly, it's lighter than my HHKB right now. Let's see, weight. Let's see. Wait, is Nine a lawyer by day? What is happening? Yes, I am a lawyer. I've been sued for malpractice. No, I haven't. Yes, I am an attorney. Do not hire me. I will destroy any credibility you have. She's a traitor. She has a little life outside streaming. Yes, unfortunately, you know, I have a life. You know, I do have a job. How unfortunate, you know. Booked and busy. I'm crying. I'm shedding tears. I'm crying in the club right now, okay? I have a Hunger Games thing with them. What? Hunger Games? What the fuck is a Hunger Game? Hunger Games? Aren't they releasing a new Hunger Games? Too many Kevs, clown. We're all Kev. How many Kevs are there? How many fucking Kevs are there? I love this song. Hit it, brick up. How fair, but lawyer was not going to be my first guess. What did you think I was, Ariella? Did you think I'm like, I've been told I look like a burrito. Well, I've been told I look like a social media influencer. I be influencing these hoes, you know, I be influencing, you know, like keyboards and stuff. I just like be posing like, buy this keyboard. And that's how I influence people, you know, buy it. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. Kim K got nothing on Lydia Gogo. I do the millennial pause. I can't, I gotta work on my millennial pause, okay? I think I would have got marketing executive. I could never. What the fuck happened? Oh God. What the fuck happened? When did I stop? When did I stop? Oh my God. I was being so funny too. I was being really funny. What was I saying? 5 minutes? Wait, how long have I been? Oh my God. I was being so fucking funny. I don't even know what I was saying. Oh my God. I was saying something about, okay, you know what? Scratch it. Scratch that. I don't know anything. My full Zoom doesn't have mic. Does this have mic? Oh, I think it has mic. Oh, you know what happened? I was doing full Zoom. And then I accidentally pressed the mute. Okay, I was saying, you know, I'm actually very introverted and mentally ill. That's what I was saying. Anyway, whatever. There was a whole thing that I had a little bit, but it was, you know, whatever. I forgot. Okay? You could actually catch a live stream. Catch these nuts in your mouth instead. She's literally a potato outside. Listen, I don't do anything really outside of stream, you know. I flop, you know, I nap for like 4 hours, you know. Pin this prompt was marketing. Oh yes, I was saying I could never be a marketing executive. I'm actually introverted and mentally ill. That was the thing. Yes, there you go. There you go. Bam! Recap. Bam! Thank you very much. Honorary Asian user energy here. Yes. It makes a lot of sense because I was saying I'm very impulsive. I'm very impulsive. I do take a lot of risks. You know, I'd be just doing shit. That's, you know, like I just be like, bam, let's do it, you know, bam, ram me, you know. The honorary mention was inside you all along. Ichigogo, Nai, love you. Hello, Ichigogo, welcome in. How are you? Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Happy Pride. Okay, what the fuck are we doing? Okay, right, we do stabs. Fuck, man. I don't wanna do keyboards. Can we just like all agree that like, here's the keyboard. Oh, shit. Here's the keyboard. It's lovely. You know, buy it. Tiger Light 75. Excuse me. This one has a knob and a screen. How dare you, you homophobe? This would look nice with nice 3D City. Yes. You know what this would look nice with? You know what this would look nice with? This is what I have this set. I have this set. I really want to put this shit on here. I really want to. Oh, it's upside down. Okay, well, you can see the purple flecks. This is, you see? Oh! This would look so fucking good on this shit. You see, I bought this. I was like, I need it right now. I need it inside me right now. I'm just kidding. No, but I want to use this one. So there's not going to be, I'm going to use this. This is what they use for the promo pictures as well. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. Okay. Okay, I don't know how to put this back. Okay, fuck it. Okay, I'm just going to put this here. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, stabs. Okay, I need to stop getting distracted. Okay, what's happening? I'm like very behind. We're all gay when we're here. Yes, you guys are all gay. Okay. Okay, Nine was inside us all along. Never. Jason, my sister has a friend who's a trial lawyer and she's also very loud. I am, you know, I'm actually very shy. I'm super shy, super shy. You know, I'm a very shy girl. You know, I'm just like a little Asian schoolgirl. I'm like, I'm shy, you know, like, you know the Asian schoolgirls. Anyway, the only gays I support are the frogs. Outside of frogs, the frogs are all gay. Whack it too hard with their BB. Listen, I have not had Red Bull in several days. I was trying to take a Red Bull tea break, a Red Bull tolerance break, but I just couldn't do it. I love my Red Bull. It's so fucking good. This is how you present to the court. Yes, I'm like, Your Honor, frankly, my dear. I got in trouble. You're not allowed to be like this, actually, because the judges get pissed off. There was one time I was in a Zoom hearing, right? Because a lot of these hearings are on Zoom now because of the pandemic, you know, because of the bats and shit. Okay? And I was just like, this opposing counsel was like making some like stupid ass fucking. I won that case, by the way. She was making a stupid, and I was like shaking my head like this. And then I got in trouble with the judge. Okay, she was like, Miss, I don't want you to be swaying and shaking your head. I want you to give, I'm like, but she's stupid, Your Honor. She's stupid. It's stupid. Anyway, I'm like, she's fucking stupid. You can't handle the place. We just found out that we're about to move into 3-bedroom, 2 bath. There's a 2-bath. There's a bathhouse. There's a lot of gays in the bathhouses. Conan, welcome in. Hello, Conan. Welcome in. Where the fuck am I? How far behind am I? Oh God. Okay, I'm like 15 minutes behind. Hello, Conan. Welcome in. Mummy is also here. That said, Mummy. Yes, we might be streaming on Thursday. I'm not sure. I have a lot of stuff to do for... Oh, thank you for the sub mode. I appreciate it. We do have a lot of stuff to do, you know, for the trial, for whacking pee-pee. So we might be streaming the Ladybird, the Lady Bussy. Ladybird, LGB. Oh, fuck. Jesus. Ladybird, the L and B and LGBT stand for Ladybird, okay? How are the plates backwards compatible? The plates are not backwards compatible, I don't think. No, the plates are not backwards compatible. Yes, no, they're not. Listen. Yes, thank you very much, Conan. Conan is on point. Okay, what are we doing? All right, stabs. Fuck, dude. Can y'all please, I need someone to pin what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm like, get distracted and I'm like, I need you to pin like, do stabs because I forget. I'm just like, I've been messing with this shit for like, okay, build a fucking keyboard. Do the stabs. Okay, got it. Jake is gay in spirit, but not in practice. I love that for you. You're a true ally. Thank you very much, Jake. Ally Jake. I'm gay when I'm here. I love it. You know what? It's all fluid. It's all relative and fluid. Okay. All right. Here we go. There's some stab wires here. I think we gotta clip some shit. Okay. Okay, so there's a wire here. Love it, love it. We're gonna do split backspace. Okay, so how many stabs do we need? 1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay, bam. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're gonna clip. We're gonna be clipping. We're clipping these stabs, okay? I think these are cherry. Are these cherry? Yes, I think these are cherry. Okay, we're clipping. We're clipping stabs. Okay, like I said, I'm gay. We're gay one right here. Are we supporting or learning our colonization? We are doing both. We should support the unlearning. Okay, please unlearn. Please unlearn. Can you guys please be all just silly gooses? Okay. I clean your lip. Okay, okay. I gotta clip. I gotta focus on clipping. I'm sorry. Okay, Lydia has birthed 334 times on stream. That is truly magnificent. I love that. Love that for me. Love that for her. I feel like I overclipped this stab. Did I overclip this stab? Oh god. I feel like I kind of fucked up this stab. It'll be okay though, right? It's okay to overclip. Clean soup. Okay. Okay, I'm at Apiary's raid. Oh god, I'm so behind. You went to get food? Bill Knight, a science guy. Yes, hello, hello. Did we get a huge shout out to Apiary? Hello. Mirror Mask Arts, prepare yourself. Welcome in, Mirror Mask Arts. Hello, Mask for Masculine. Where are my mask mommies at? Have y'all seen that woman on fucking TikTok and Instagram that's like kind of looks like Justin Bieber, and she's like by the pool. She's like, where are my girls? 5-foot girls. Love scrolling TikTok. Loves walks by the beach. Doesn't use chopsticks. Where you at, girl? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Am I crazy? I feel like I see her all over. That's like the Justin Bieber, like someone said, like, who microwaved Justin Bieber? Okay, okay, maybe that's just me. I'm sorry. I apologize for my gay humor. I'm sorry for being gay, okay? Let's see, prepare myself pretty unhinged. We're unhinged. Prepare your earballs. Unhinged is a good time. Thank you. I love that. Love that for you. Okay, we're doing some stab work, okay? Very complicated stab work here. Mother, Westish is here. Welcome in, Westish. Westish, hello. I've still yet to meet you. I need to meet you. Okay, yes, Keep Live tickets are gonna be on sale at some point, so I don't even, okay. Anyway, there you go. There's my promo for Keep Live. Anyway, we should call it Stacy Life, really, because she's doing a lot. You know, she's doing the most, okay? Yuhai is here. Welcome in, Yuhai. Hope you're enjoying your little 60% keyboard. I think Shoni's messaged me I was muted or something. All right, thank you, thank you. 2 people messaged me that I was muted, my real fans, thank you. Mother serving cunt. Let's see, are runners Punkshu? Yes, if the poll is tied, you have to build with them all, not Kev. Nice. Trevor is my stage name. Trevor's kind of a straight name, not gonna lie. Is Trevor kind of a... Do y'all know gay Trevors? Well, other than the Trevor Project. I think he was bullied. Maybe he died, actually. Who is Trevor? Trevor Project? Oh, it's a suicide. Oh my god. Did he die? Did he die? Oh my god, Is it real? Dramedy? Oh, Trevor is not real. Oh, Trevor is not real. Okay, thank you. Trevor is not real. But Trevor's story is very real. Anyway, I'm about to be canceled for being homophobic. For being a gay homophobe, okay? Anyway, support the Trevor Project. We love it, okay? I interned for the Human Rights Campaign when I was in law school, okay? I support the gays. Okay, anyway. What's happening? What's happening? Anyway, hello. Okay, let me keep reading chat before I get canceled for real. Okay, my name is not Trevor. It's not okay. It's fine. You can do 2 builds tonight. I can't complain. Hello, Socks. Good morning. Welcome. Well, Kwan's name is not Trevor. Your name is Trevor Kwan. Can I call you Trevor from now on? Nothing is fine. 1 build only. No content for you. Multiple contents. We're doing multiple contents. Do I need more? Do I need to cut another one? I think I need to cut another one. It's impossible. Got me dying to realize it now. Okay, what are we doing? Yes, nothing is fine. No content for you. We are going to be doing 2 builds, okay? It just takes me a while to do stabs. I apologize. I should always do stabs ahead of time, you know? Turing Moonyacht, love it. This may be weird, but I heard castrated men don't lose their hair due to MPB. Is that true, Stubby? Oh, fuck, I'm sorry. Is that true? Can someone test it out? Can someone castrate themselves and see if they start balding? But yes, welcome in. Welcome in, Stubby Cone and Bathrobe. Christina is here. Welcome in. Hello. I'm literally about to. What do you mean, Christina? My muse. Hello. Okay. Oh wait. We don't need this. We need the spacebar stab. We need a spacebar stab. Okay. Literally every court story ever. Yes, I got some court stories, honey. You know, they were saying, we want money. And we were like, you know, I don't want to pay you. You know, that's how it goes. That's just how it goes. I ate, like dinner came back. She's just reading my message. Perfect timing. Oh God, Cloudfish, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. I'm hurrying. I'm hurrying. Bolip on payroll to whack the peepees. Randy is here. Hello. Yes, Randy. You know how we whack the peepees, you know? We whacking all kinds of peepees here. Okay. Yes, we are going to be giving away. Also, y'all, I am thinking about doing some kind of like big keyboard giveaway. I have yet to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll do a little gay thing, you know, it's trendy now, you know, to be like, I support the gays, you know, it's very trendy. It's like a little trend. It's like a TikTok trend, you know. I might do that and then give away some keyboards. I have so many fucking keyboards. I need to just like, I need to just purge them. I need to just like purge. We got so many. There's too many, frankly. Like the world doesn't need that many keyboards, okay? Boliv, Gimme, welcome in. Yes, Checkmate Panda, marketing executive. I thought you worked at Starbucks. Starbucks is canceled, okay? Don't even mention. A stripper, definitely a stripper. I could not be a stripper. I wish I could be a stripper, honestly. Like, I wish I could just start an OnlyFans and be comfortable with it, you know? But I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not the key circle. You look like a professional softball bench warmer. I actually used to play softball, Philippe. Don't even. I actually used to warm the bench for softball. Make your wish a reality. Hello, Anne of Green Jables wants the sub. My only stripper fans, hello, Anne. I still have not met you after however long, even though we live in very close proximity to each other. Okay, can we get a shout out to Philippe? Welcome in. Let's see. Oh God, what's happening? How am I getting auto-modded? Jason7of9 is also here. Hello, Jason7of9. Nox Cumbra is here. Head mod Cox is here. Welcome in. 17 months. Thank you all so much for the subbies in the 17 months. Oh my God, he's here. Everyone calm down. Okay, everyone, I know you're all bricked up, but please calm down. Okay, head mod is here. Everyone calm down. Anyway, I saw him after he did a 30 fucking hour raid in fucking whatever the fuck, Destiny. Anyway, muted. What is happening? I'm so sorry, block the mic. 20 minutes till she sees it muted. Okay, y'all, if there's something urgent that you need me to see, you absolutely need to pin it because I will not see. I will not know I'm muted. Okay, here we go. Oh, we didn't fucking lube the stabs. We need to lube the fucking stabs, you know? We gotta lube it. You gotta lube it up real good, you know? Almost running out of lube, you know? Pride Month be crazy. Actually broke the mic. Luckily, she's so behind on chat. She will turn the mic on in 20 minutes. She became muted. Censored. Okay, we're gonna do the stabs. Okay, we're gonna do the stabs. The stabs are being done. Okay. We're gonna be giving away some gay pride cloths. Okay. Gay pride, love it. I'm very prideful, very proud. You know, what do you call a group of gays? A gaggle of gays is what Randy said. Did we get a shout out to Mr. Randall Ocean? Okay, these stabs are lubed. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. We did it, Joe. Oh my God, LOL. Typo MK, hello, the straights took out your mic. Hello, Typo MK. Yes, that was your keycap set. Yes, welcome in. We have a keycap designer here, the Capin. Okay, let me plug this in. Okay, we gotta plug it. Thank you for the first time chat. That pinned message, there we go. When you changed angles, I'm dying like 5 minutes ago. Change the cam, got too turned. Ever since you tried to yell at me and zoom in, we can't hear any of it. My bad for trying to yell at you, Ariella. I will not yell at you anymore out of respect. Okay, I'm just respecting you. Let's see, your full zooms and have a Mac. Prove you're being funny. No one heard you. Coda bro, that's a nice reverso. Thank you. Welcome in, Coda bro. Yes, that is my reverso. Very lovely. I love it very much. You know, one of the, you know, the Jejel Kucha. Oh, Jesus Christ. Pin this, prompt this, marketing excited. That's funny. I saw it. I'm extroverted, mentally ill. Oh, fuck my ass. I'm sorry. I'm like burping like all over the place. I'm sorry. Okay. What's happening? Okay, we're done the stabs. Let's put this, okay? Anyway, 7-hour naps after work. So true. You know, 7-hour naps, you know, I be napping. Women be napping. You know, women be crazy these days, you know, honestly. Does this have a daughter board? Okay, no, it doesn't. Oh, God. Okay, what are we doing? Jammies? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it, fam. Is this gonna sound good? Is this gonna sound good? We'll see. Hi, BB, I'm good. Fuck stabs. Yes, hello, Ichigo. You know, unfortunately, I do have to do stabs on this build, you know, because I will receive a lot of hate. Lots of hate crimes, you know. 1 hate crime a day, you know, constantly. Scuff. Joseph, welcome in. How's your back? Hello, Joseph. I think last time you were here, I was complaining about my back. My back feels a lot better now. I've been more cognizant. Listen, look at me using a big word, you know, big SAT word. I've been a lot more cognizant of my posture lately. You know, GMK Purple Knight. Are we doing Purple Knight? Persistent 2. You didn't give up for the Pochita plushie. Yes, absolutely. I needed that Pochita plushie, okay? Hey, yo, my set, hell yeah. Yes, it is your set, indeed. Oh my God, how far behind am I? Turquoise, oh my God. Yes, I love that set. I think this will look really good on it, but they actually, let me show y'all the website for this, okay? So there is an updated blog here. Do you want to look at the blog? They soft announced. They didn't hard announce, they're very soft. Their PPs are soft. They didn't hard launch or soft launch, they soft announced, okay? We haven't made until today, current status. Okay, so this is, where's that picture of the one with the turquoise? Oh, this is like a little comparison. So it's 400, so now it's 111. Okay, gasket, dome, okay, you can do a little comparison, whatever. Why injection molded? Okay. Where's the picture of it with these keycaps? I'm pretty sure there was a picture of it with these keycaps. Am I lying? Yes, this. It's gonna look amazing like this. I'm very excited. Okay, it's gonna be bussin'. I'm very excited, okay. Anyway, 111. I want to get that bongo cat. I hope we can get the bongo cat. A few more details. Revised PCB. We love it. I love it. I got the octo purple. I personally think the octo purple is the way to go. Okay, it's giving retro. It's giving, like, Your Honor, it's giving retro. Okay, well, how's the weather? Feeling very low energy today? I'm sorry you're feeling low energy. Okay, that sounds like a you problem. I'm just kidding. I hope you feel better soon. Okay? I will make you feel better, okay? You don't give off innocent vibes. I'm very innocent. I'm innocent. I'm not that. What's a song that's like you're innocent? Okay, wait, I shouldn't have put a switch here. Oh God, should I just like... Okay, I shouldn't have put a switch. Actually, let me get rid of this. I need to be cognizant, you know? I need to be very cognizant of what I'm doing, okay? Omega delay, yes, we are omega delay, yes. Burp, do stab, build keyboard, do stream, be gay, do stabs, put on keycaps, lose words per minute, give us money, do push-ups, rechat, drink, and stretch. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we missing any, what do you call it? Redeems? Oh God. We are do stream, be gay, clip stabs like straight guys. Clipped stabs are just like circumcised penises, you know? It's basically the same thing, you know? You can argue about that. I've unlearned everything. I know nothing. I haven't seen her, but that's hilarious. Who's her? Fuckboy Butch Microwave. I don't know who that is. I'm also not a lesbian, Philippe, but you're into lesbians though, you know? Chopstick. Hello, Kajita. Welcome in. Hello. How are you, Kajita? Ben, not the apology for being gay during Pride Month. I do apologize on behalf of the corporate gays. I'm like a corporate gay. Am I like a corporate gay? I'm kind of like corporate. I'm kind of a corporate gay, I'm not gonna lie. I do apologize on behalf of the corporate gays. There are some real corporate gays though. Real corporate gays, okay? I met Stacy in person recently. She's even prettier in person. She's also taller. Yes, Stacy is quite tall. Stacy is like 5'8" or something. Yes, Stacy is going to be at Key Blythe. Very exciting. She organizes a lot of the meetups. We stand. We have no choice. We have no choice but to stand. Let's be real. Let's be real. We have no choice but to stand Stacy Smash. Okay. I was about to say I know a gay Trevor. Who is this gay Trevor that you know? Send me all the details. Okay. Trevor is a 1994 American short film. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification, Emiphobia. Heterophobia. She's real far behind. She'll say hi in a week. Hello, keyboard father. My father is here. HMX. Look, we're using HMX switches. Are you proud of me? We're using some lovely HMX switches. We've been influenced. We've been influenced by Boca Boob, Shiloh Tussie, and Keyboard Dad, the HMX gang, okay? Shout out. Hey, can we get an Instagram shout out to Keyboard Father? Hello. Let's see. I got you, Dad. Say hi. Say hi to you now. Hello, Daddy. Justin Cho, welcome in. Exclamation build. Yes, we are indeed doing an HMX build right here. Who has done a build of this yet? Who's done a build? Lightning's done a build, right? Who's done a build of this? Oh God, my back. Oh, my back is thrown out. Okay. There will be a solder PCB that supports 7U. This will come with a default 6.25U, you know, so you can cry about it. Oh, cheese hat. Oh, we gotta stretch. Okay, I gotta stretch. Oh man, I need to get a massage, bro. Who wants a massage? Who wants to spread my cheeks when I get massaged? That happened when I got a full body massage. The masseuse was like spreading my cheeks, like dead ass, and like she basically grabbed, you know. Anyway, that's for another time. Okay, let me put on this cheese hat. Matt, welcome in. Nat Tam. Cheese hat. Here we go. We're wearing the cheese hat. My lovely ratatouille cheese hat right here, okay? Ratatouille. Rat-a-tap that ass. Okay, here. There, cheese hat. Hold on. Is this going the right way? This has to go on like this. Cheese hat. Cheese hat. Cheese hat is on. Cheese hat is on, but I can do this. I can like, milady. Can I like sport mode this? Oh my God, I look kind of cute right now. I look kind of fruity. I look kind of breedable right now. Okay, what's happening? Matt, welcome in. We have a song request. What the fuck are we doing? Oh, we're still putting on switches. Oh my goodness. Listen, buddy. It's gonna take us 3 hours to get through this build. Okay, let's put this on. Let's put this on. Okay, what's this? What is this song redeem request from Naktam? Can we please get a shout out to Naktam, the corn guy? There's actually 2 corn guys. There's Naktam, and then there's also Exploding Corn. Who is the most corny guy? Who is watching a lot of corn? Okay, what is this? Quad, come on and ride it, the train. Quad City DJs. Okay, this sounds like a vibe. Are you ready for tomorrow? 10 a.m. Oh God, this is loud. Oh God. XG World Tour tickets. Yes, XG World Tour tickets for... By the way, XG World Tour tickets, if you didn't know XG, I'm kind of a fan. They're dropping tomorrow, 10 a.m. in your local time. I'm so excited. I'm ready. My body is ready. I will be going to... Well, I'm still debating if I want to go to the Houston one. I may. Anyway, okay. Well, we're... Tar John. Speaking of XG, Tar John is here. Yes, welcome in. Yes, I am very excited. You know, I will be going to the Grand Prairie one, the one in Dallas. Okay. I will see y'all there. Okay, what are we doing? All right, we should put this in. What is this? The side chips? Okay, what are we doing? Okay, wait, okay, we gotta unscrew this. Okay, let's unscrew this. Let's unscrew. We're unscrewing, okay. What's this? Hex? What is this? I gotta find the right tip for this. Is this the right tip? This might be too big. Yeah, this tip is too big. Too big, you know, don't want to mess up the holes, you know. The holes are very precious holes. Okay. Also, hello, Tar John, fellow Juria. Actually, my friend flew from LA to the Korea fan meet, and she asked Juria again if she remembers the keyboard that I built. And she was like, yes, oh my God, my keyboard's so good. That's what she said. So Juria remembers me. She basically, you know, I'm like her biggest fan, basically, ever. A muster of gays. Is that what you call gay people? A muster of gays? There's a lot of screws on this one, by the way. Lots of screws for screwing and unscrewing. Okay. How many screws are there? There's a lot of screws on this. Is it because it's injection molded? Injected? You know what I would like to be injected? You know what else should be injected, is what I mean. Triple X Sat 75 behave. Bokeh Bob, hello. Yes, thank you for the shout out to Bokeh Bob. Yes, Bokeh Bob, we are doing the triple X Sat 75 gone wild tonight. Okay, I'm very satisfied. XXX will leave you satisfied for sure. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, we're still unscrewing. Okay, do we, is this gonna come out? Are these all out? Some of these are out. Oh god, there's something that fell out. Okay. These go here. Okay, what are we doing? Oh, there's 2 screws. There's 2 screws here, okay. What's happening? Hello, Bokeh Boom. Thank you for the shout out. Does the PCB have fixed layout multiple layout support hot swap? The PCB does have split backspace support on the hot swap, but it is fixed 6.25U on the spacebar for the hot swap version. It doesn't have stack cap, it's regular caps, okay? Okay, what is happening? But the solder, they do have a solder PCB version that will have the 7U. Oh god. This is the worst build stream ever. How do I get this out? Can you come out, please? Can you come out? It's Pride Month. You don't have to hide anymore. Can you please come out? I'm gonna screw you and you're gonna come out, okay? I'm gonna screw your holes and you'll come out. Sis, it's Pride Month. Super Vinchan, welcome in. Hello, just the push-ups? Oh, I'm just missing the push-ups. Okay. Oh, fuck. Is it gonna come out? Okay, it's gonna come out. I just need to push it out. Oh, fuck! Oh, God. Okay, there's these side pieces here. Let me see. There's these side pieces. Okay. There's these side pieces, and then there's this one. I think this goes on the top. Is that right? Yeah, that goes on the top. These are side pieces. So you can choose to remove them if you would like. Maybe you can remove these. I don't think we need these, right? I think they said it was removable. Am I lying or whatever? I may be just making shit up. What did they say? What is it? Gasket chips are meant to be removable. You can removing the side ones or the ones near the spacebar or both. Okay, I want to remove the spacebar ones. How do I remove the spacebar? Gasket chips. These are called chips. Is this the spacebar? Oh god, they're supposed to be. Oh, so these are removable. I'm gonna remove the side ones. Which one is the spacebar one? But this is kind of like on the spacebar too. Oh, I see. Look at how modular. What the fuck am I doing? Is this supposed to go here, right? Interesting. So these are like modular, you see? Okay, I see what's going on here. Okay, how do I remove this one? Can I remove this? Let me see. Can I remove it? Let me grab it. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, there. I'm gonna remove these side gaskets. And then I will leave the rest of these gaskets on. Okay, is that fair? Is that all right? Just the push-ups? Basically, cut versus uncut stabs. Yes. Clip versus unclip. Circumcised versus uncircumcised, okay? Stretch that booty right now. Stretch that booty hole. It's already stretched. It's stretched beyond your imagination, frankly, okay? Certified Classic V-Dub Rub, welcome in. Hello, welcome. Bokeh Boob. I always call him Bokeh Boob. I always call him Bokeh Boob, okay? That is my name for him. Okay, are we done? Do we put this in? There you go. There's like, we can't remove the spacebar ones, really, right? All right, there you go. And then the knob, we gotta put on the knob. The most important, frankly, the most important thing. Yes. Lovely, lovely, my dear. Okay. Oh, wait, wait. How do I? Oh, God. Oh, it's on real tight. It's on real tight. Okay. It gets on real tight. Okay, so and then we gotta screw this. Can you guys tell me? Wait, actually, no, don't tell me. Are these screws all the same sizes? Okay, they are. I hope I'm not missing any screws because I be missing screws, bro. Oh, fuck, Jesus. I'll spread yours in the future. You guys are spreading holes. Look at me just gripping this keyboard. Does that turn you on? Do you want me to grip you like this? Let's see. Oh, fuck. I'm so sorry. Okay. It's a Sat 75 satisfaction. Does it sexually satisfy you during Pride Month? Does it do so? Does it indeed do so? These screws are threaded, by the way, or whatever the fuck. They're not like, you know, so you don't have to worry about, you know, it has like the metal insert. It has inserts. Whatever that term is, you know, whatever the keyboard term is for, you know, it has the metal thing and you can screw it in. Does that make sense? Can I get a free bark for my return? Excuse me. You think I give out barks for free? I'll spread yours. Hello? It sounds like my kind of massage. Ratatouille that ass. Is that a thing that people say, Fuzzinator? Fuzzinator is a sex addict, actually. He is in love with me, actually. He will change me. Okay, what's happening? I'll spread yours in the future. You look like a Navy or something. I am very proud that I look like a Navy. Okay. All right. Putting this on, okay? We're gonna put this on, okay? Navy just horny. 1996. What the fuck? What does 1996 mean? I was born in 1997. My kids, my children. I am a very young and sprightly individual. Very young and sprightly and very spirited. Quite a very spirited individual. Okay, Navy just horny. Is Navy in the Navy? Da, 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 in the Navy. Da, 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 da. Listen, when my dad found out that those men were gay as fuck, the village men, he was shooketh. He thought they were just like macho men, but I'm like, they are, but also they're like incredibly gay. You know, they used to go to the YMCA. That's where they met, and you know, they would engage in activities. You know, this is so light. This thing is so light. Okay. We're gonna put on the keycaps that I want to put on. Okay. I'm gonna put on the keycaps I want to put on. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay. Let's see what's happening. My name is Exploding Corn, but Nactam is also exploding the corn. Okay. All right, we're gonna put on these. Nactam is like the corn guy. Nactam is literally known as the corn guy, okay? So I don't think you can out-corn him, okay, buddy? Better watch yourself, buddy. Okay, what are we doing? All right, let's put these sexy-ass fucking keycaps on here, okay? I'm very excited, you know, frankly. I would like to thank the Academy. Okay, should we do this? Ooh, look at this! Look at what we're doing. Juriel never... You went to the Osaka show? Wait, I didn't realize that. You went to the Osaka show? Oh my god! That's crazy. I wish I could go. I wish I could go to, you know, I wish I went to their Japan showcases, but, you know, unfortunately, I can't just be taking off work and flying halfway across the world. You know what I mean? How unfortunate for me. Okay, anyway, too big of a tip. Jury will never forget Lydia's key. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm debating which shows I want to go to. I guess Tarjan, which one? Okay. I gotta, like, tune this stab. If there's anything I know is that I have to tune that stab. That stab needs to be tuned. Okay. All right, what's going on? Okay. Precious, hold, tap, holds, we support you, screw. We're screwing. Okay. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Here we go. Caps lock. Caps lock, tab. This is beautiful. This is gorgeous. Look at this. Those purple flecks, bro. Those purple flecks are perfect. I am obsessed with the purple flex, okay? Let's see, tap holds, dang, 2024 hot swap PCB still being fixed, yeah. So I do wish there was a 7U hot swap layout, but you know, like an echo in the forest, on my window, on my table, yeah, life goes on. That's what I wanted to say. You know, it do be like that, but you know, do you want to file a lawsuit against Canon Keys? Can we do that? Can we file a lawsuit? I would like to commit a lawsuit. Is that okay? No, how sweet it tastes. No step caps, literally unusable. Dude, it's so funny because I love step caps, but I've realized it's harder for me to use step caps. I don't know, like, but I still love step caps. I think I just like the way it looks. It looks a little funny. That's literally the only reason I like step caps. I'm like, it looks a little silly. But for me, you know, like on an HHKB, like the control key is here. So it becomes a lot harder for me to like press this and like use like copy and paste or whatever, you know? If it's a step cap, you know, maybe it's a skill issue, but you know, it do be like that. Step cap usable side piece. Hello, yes, side pieces in chat. Okay, putting on keycaps. Putting on keycaps. So, do y'all have questions for me about the keyboard and the keyboard hobby? I bet you guys are very interested in the opinions that I have to offer about certain keyboards, you know, that come into my, you know, realm of expertise. And I know that my opinion is very valued as a member of the keyboard community. And frankly, I think it's about time that I am taken seriously as a keyboard content creator, you know, as a keyboard influencer, frankly, because I'm influencing, honey. I be influencing. Call me the influenza because I am influencing, okay? I'm out here. Call me COVID. No, don't. That's like a hate crime. Don't do that. My feelings will be hurt. Anyway, that's kind of racist. Unborn, welcome in. Hello, hi Nana. Yes, hello, Unborn. How are you? Yes. Listen, the first time. Listen, I've never really gotten hate for being gay. Well, in my adult life, I've never really gotten hate for being gay. I've gotten more hate for being Asian, honestly, about the COVID stuff, because I be called Corona. People are like, do you speak English? Which is like, I hardly speak English, you know, to be honest, to be frank. Frankly, my dear. Anyway, I'm like basically illiterate in Chinese, but I also kind of speak it, so it's kind of hard. Like they'll be like, oh my, Nina, you speak Chinese and stuff, you can read it? I'm like, you know, it's complicated. I have a complicated relationship with my culture, okay? That doesn't even take into account the Taiwan, China stuff, honey. That doesn't even, listen, that doesn't scratch the surface of my butthole, okay? That doesn't even scratch it. You gotta scratch it real good. Listen, scratching buttholes is like kind of one of the biggest, you know, things that turns me on. Oh God. Nikolai, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Hello. How are you, Nikolai? Are you Russian? I don't know. I'm just making that up. Isn't Nikolai a Russian name? What's happening? I gotta loop this fucking stab, bro. Okay, what's happening? XXL, XXL. Oh, God. Only sussy because owl boobas can't be considered art. Anyway, my burps are like really fucking shrimpy. It like is real shrimpy. Okay, what the fuck are we doing? Okay, we're putting on keycaps. And then what the fuck are we doing? All right, we're doing a typing test, right? You guys need to remind me of this stuff. Listen, you guys think I need reminders, okay? Where is this? This goes here, right? Oh God. Okay. Escape. I want what do we put here? What do we put here? Should we put like pause? Like pause champ? Okay, and then we gotta do this second layer. We gotta do a second layer. We gotta put, what is this? Control. And where's alt? Where's my alt right, folks? Oh, I'm just kidding. That's not funny. Okay, here. Let's put this here. Okay, where are we? Okay, there you go. Look at this. Beautiful. Oh, wait, we're missing a key. Where is it? Where's page down? Where is it? Reveal yourself. Is it this? Fuck it. I'm just gonna put this here. It looks kind of right? Page down, FN, you know, lovely. Lovely, lovely. Look at us. We built a keyboard. Please clap. Jeb Bush, please clap. Okay. Please clap for me, okay? I gotta relube this stab, okay? I gotta relube it. This looks so pretty, so gorgeous. Never before been seen. Okay, I need to see what the fuck is going on. I'm heartbroken. You want me to bark for you? If you redeem pregnancy redeem, I will bark for you. I do have a pregnancy redeem, by the way. It is, you know, it is legally binding. If you redeem pregnancy redeem, I will get pregnant. On the spot. Instant, what is it? Immaculate conception? Is that what, what's her face? Mary? That's Jesus' mother, right, Mary? She is immaculately conceiving. Is that what it is? Fetus 1997? Can't deny that you've outed me? I have outed you, sir. I love you at Ross Spenders in the future. Oh, whoa, shit. I'm sorry. Oh, no. 1995. I just be reading shit. This is the most chaotic Keep stream I've ever been in. I'm glad you're here for it. I'm also here. I'm present. Oh, this actually sounds... Yo, this is a clack monster. This is a clack... Oh, this is a clack... This is a clack daddy. This is not a monster. This is a clack daddy. Kim Suk Jin is released tomorrow. Suck Jin! My Jinny is released tomorrow. My Jinny! Oh, Saka Show was crazy. First time in Japan. Look at get tickets for New York, Las Vegas, and LA. That's like in 3 different areas of the country. I'm only going to the Texas ones. I know some of my friends are fucking going to like all of them in the US. It's crazy. They out here. All right, let's see if this shit works. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's working. Why am I like shocked when stuff works? I'm like really shocked when stuff works. You know, it's just very rare for stuff to work on the first try on this stream. Okay, what the fuck are we doing? The knob works. It pauses. It plays. Lovely. I'm gonna read that letter for instructions. Okay, let's see. As per my instructions, starting price of $111, encoder comes pre-soldered, okay? Unlike the previous version, OLED is hot swappable, mounting styles change to gasket style, hot swap PCB available, backwards compatible, PCBs are backwards compatible, plates are not. PCBs, yes, backwards compatible, you can bend them backwards, plates are not backwards compatible, all knobs are cross compatible, so you can use all the knobs that you want. There was that SAT75 ghost knob. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. One new default OLED available typing friend, satisfaction. Where is the thing? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I keep burping. Okay, what's happening? FN press knob. Which one is FN, though? Which one is FN? Hold on. I gotta see what the fuck is going on here. I gotta see. Listen, keyboards, very, very complicated. Very complicated stuff right here happening. Truly crazy. FN is this. Okay, and then we gotta... Oh! Oh my God, there's a cat! Oh my God, we have the cat! Yo, I'm dead ass. I'm actually so fucking excited. We have the fucking cat! Oh my God, we have the fucking cat, bro. You guys don't know how excited I'm for this because listen, the SAT75 when I first joined the hobby in 2020 was like the goated keyboard. And I was like, I want that fucking cat. I want that fucking cat so bad. And now I have the fucking cat. Look at it! Oh my God! Okay, so that turns it off. So there's a bunch of different stuff, but we don't give a fuck about that stuff. So there's a words per minute counter. Look at me, I'm fast as fuck, boy. I'm fast as fuck, boy. Look, 140, 120, 240 words per minute. 240 words per minute. Oh my God, I actually fucking love this cat. I'm not even kidding. This shit is the reason why this board went for like fucking thousands of dollars. Thousands and thousands and thousands, top 1%. We have to kill them. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, anyway, ignore what I just said. Okay, now just run the raps, run them stabs raw. I'm not like you, Fuzz. Okay, I'm not trying to catch these STDs, okay? Doesn't help the whole sex accusation. Purple flex, dude, I love the purple flex on this. Hold on, look at this. This is like perfect build right here. Listen, buddy. It is so light too. Let's see how light this thing is. Compared to wait, is it lighter than my HHKB? It might be slightly heavier than my HHKB. Let's see. Fully built, this thing is 6.9, 69. 1 pound, 6.9, baby. And then how much is my HHKB? Oh my, this thing is just slightly heavier than my HHKB. Can you say HHKB? HHKB. I love my HHKB. Okay, anyway, this thing is just barely heavier than my HHKB. Okay? Anyway, okay, I'm gonna do typing test prediction, and then we're gonna do a second build, but this build already sounds really good. Okay, hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored. Okay. I'm just kidding. I actually do think this sounds pretty good. Okay, all right, prediction time. Okay, typing test prediction. Let's get it on. Let's get it going. Okay, typing test prediction has started. Meanwhile, I will catch up on chat. Should we do one of the gay pride giveaways things right now while we're doing the typing test prediction? Should we do it? I am feeling so gay right now. Like, I'm actually like gayness, homosexuality is like overflowing in my veins. Like, no one has been gayer. Like, I would be fucking tar and feathered back in the 50s, okay? Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Marbles? Okay, is it launching? Well, it's not launching. I need marbles to launch. I need marbles to launch, okay? What are the clip ores? I'm fucking dead. She hate crimed herself. You influence me. I influence you to be gay. That's what I... Nice reverso. Thank you. I love my reverso. I'm getting an engraving on the back, but I do love my reverso. Now, I influence me to use 60%. Yes, thank you. Well, right now at work, I use a 60XT because it's my reflection with the photo card. It's kind of complicated. It's a little complicated there. Okay, what the fuck are we doing? Okay, marbles. Let's flip marbles. Is this gonna work? Can you please work? Okay, let's see. Why Dev hated that to hate. That's not a hate crime, Michael. Well, I hated it very much. Okay, cancel running this. Okay, we need to run this. Play marbles on direct. And then, yes, allow this device to make changes. We need to launch marbles. This is crazy. Is it gonna launch? Okay, marbles is launching.